Greetings, comrades, and welcome to the Eastern Border. I've been dealing with my health a bit and finishing up an article. If you go to Foreign Policy magazine, you can go and click and, experience and read all the article about, Dedovщина, basically. If you're a patron, then the previous version of the article, pre-final edits, is available on the Patreon site. But yeah, it's been quite a lot of events this week. Zelensky's out trying to sweet talk Ukraine, do stuff there. And, Vladimir Putin has managed to finally declare that he kind of wants to be the president again. And he did it через жога, which is funny because через жопа is a Russian statement meaning, doing through the ass, and he did it через жога, which is funny. Then, apparently Navalny went missing. Medvedev wants to make targeted changes to constitution, and oh boy, a lot of mess. And Navalny's team, the Russian opposition team in general, they also seem to have their own plan for what's going to happen in March. Lots to talk about. But before we get on to that with all the news and everything, I would like to mention a YouTube channel, Fredo Rockwell. He is in our Discord channel, and he just had an interview with the exiled dissident Ruslan Gabasov. We worked and kind of published and spoke about his plight and everything he's been doing. I think a few episodes ago. It wasn't the last one, but I think 2 episodes ago or something. Yeah, that was the exiled dissident whose family now basically is under threat. He's being his brother is being held as a hostage to force him return to Russia, and that's an interesting story. So if you want to, it'd be very nice if you'd go to our friend Fredo Rockwell on YouTube and check him out. Oh, and if you're on Discord, on our Discord as well, he's there as well, and he hangs out. So that's pretty great. He's also made a lot of 5-minute guides about Amazonia and Free Belarus and Bashkortostan and all these other kind of interesting conflict zones, so to speak. I'm just skimming through this, and I highly recommend that you go and check out Fredo Rockwell. Not sponsored, by the way. No, seriously, I just check out the interview, and I thought that would be great to kind of help out my friends. But now, where do we even begin? Okay, I think we should begin with Mr. Putin, because this is just a bit crazy. See, on December 8th, Vladimir Putin said that he would finally run for his 5th presidential term. Well, the news really didn't surprise anyone. The circumstances were, less expected, so to speak. He confirmed his candidacy at the Heroes of the Fatherland Day award ceremony after Speaker of the Parliament for the DNR, self-proclaimed DNR, obviously, Artyom Zhoga, asked him to run on behalf of the residents of the annexed territories and the military, in what the Kremlin has described as an absolutely spontaneous decision. Putin agreed. Obviously, Putin's staff had a bit of a less militarized setting in mind, obviously, but this looked very military because Russian people are getting slowly tired of the war and everything, and it's quite silly that now it's done через жога, as literally everyone basically is just calling it that way, and they're just crazy. Apparently, a source close to United Russia's, the Putin's party's leadership, found Putin's announcement at this event day quite logical. Quote, "The special military operation is the president's main focus, wherever anyone might try to pull him." The source added that Andrei Turchak, a senior United Russia official, might have lobbied for the military announcement scenario. According to the source, Turchak is Zhoga's friend and genuinely engaged in war-related topics. So it's all about a bit of a messy thing. Other sources close to Putin's administration reported to Medusa and other journalists, quote, "At least he didn't announce it in standing in front of people in mosques. That's something to be thankful for. Although the signal it gives isn't the most pleasant. We'll keep on fighting." Did the president himself want to send such a clear message? Honestly, I don't know. It was more likely an impulsive, spontaneous inclination. He himself lives by the special military operation and thinks that Russians live by it too. Yet another source that's kind of close to the administration, really. Because again, Vladimir Putin lives in his totally weird, separate world. I mean, he's being fed his own information. I think, he's kind of focusing on what's going on in the rest of the world. But on the situation on the ground, yeah, what do you want? Not like his sources have changed that much. He doesn't read internet. He does not read or do or watch anything that really disagrees with him. He has his 17 secret services, and then people surrounding him are just yes men. And of course, he might think that this is just a normal thing to do, despite the fact that, basically, there's inflation to such a point that people are, standing in lines to get eggs, because apparently there's a massive deficit on eggs, because people in Russia have moved from, beef to pork to chicken to eggs en masse, and now it's a massive issue there, and their economy is in trouble, but not like really he knows that much about that. At the same time, Dmitry Medvedev stated that, quote, "Russia will make targeted changes to the constitution." Now, our alcoholic friend Dimon, he's always, being a funny little lad, but this was a bit. I think he really should just maybe stop. Sniffing glue at this point. It's beyond what I would reasonably call using alcohol even. See, at a meeting with school and university students on Monday, Russian Security Council deputy and his other titles, that's a long list, said, quote, "While the country does not need a new constitution, the authorities will make some changes to the current one." According to him, the Russian constitution is a conservative document, and any amendments to it should be made as carefully as possible. At the same time, he added, there will definitely be some targeted changes. Some further adjustments to the constitution will undoubtedly be made, but in my view, it doesn't make sense to discuss a brand new constitution in the moment. Now, he did not specify what kind of adjustments he was referring to. However, just another thing. For example, Solovyov and all the other propaganda machinery of Russia, they've been going out very actively talking about restoring death penalty. Yeah, and it's just crazy. Note that they, after they declared the universal LGBT movement to be an extremist terrorist organization, they have been raiding gay clubs throughout Russia, including Moscow, and checking people's documents. So they might include that. It's just totally weird. And, Russia also have been begun experimenting with new restrictions on reproductive health care, including limits on abortion services in private clinics and bans on coercing women into having abortions that, basically stretch through all the situation. Well, this is kind of a very hard thing. It's just that again, they want to do all the abortion ban, and I think I'll make an episode about this, because unlike in other European countries and also in the United States, in the Soviet Union, when abortion was finally made legal, because there was a very Soviet thing, it was used widely, especially in Russia, as again, people did not know about contraception and everything. And there was a lot of issues with that. But we're talking here, in Putin's case, in this situation, even in situations where we're talking about health issues and rape and serious, serious damage and risks to the mother itself as well. Like everything is just a bit crazy here. Weirdly enough, as interestingly enough stated the humanitarian services about this whole situation about Russia's crazy abortion bans. Well, they do not take care of their orphans or their disabled people, nor they allow any foreigners to adopt them, and then nor these people with severe issues, either mental or other developmental issues. Yeah, abortions are also not very legal. It's kind of a weird thing. See, again, this is a bit different than I suppose discussions on abortions and in other countries. Just that in Putin's case, this is a total control over the body. We spoke about control of the body some time ago about people being conscripted. Now it's gone forward even in this case, because you can't be gay, you can't have abortions, even in case of if you're being raped. At the same time, which is noted by the mothers of these mobilized, literal cannibals and pedophiles and people who murder 17-year-old girls, they get released after half a year in a special military operation, and then they return. At the same time, they try to claim some sort of morality out there. Just a bit crazy. And another thing that shows how Russia functions. LDPR, the Zhirinovsky's party. Zhirinovsky is dead now. Well, see, they have a peace foundation. The Russian Peace Foundation, which is now headed by this new LDPR leader, Leonid Slutsky, although I believe it's actually led by Cyber Zhirinovsky. Yeah, they passed information about foreigners who were invited to visit Russia at the behest of Slutsky's organization to the main intelligence directorate, basically old GRU. And it was all a bit uncovered thanks to the Insider. And according to Insider, the first directorate of GRU is engaged in espionage abroad. Well, what's not to love? Apparently, the most powerful illegal GRU presences from all this information is in Austria, Switzerland, France, Italy, Germany, and hello, Maxnert, Czech Republic. GRU recruits actively in those countries. Well, they recruit and they look for politicians and all sorts of people and just do vetting and everything. And just about crazy stuff. Before the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine, Slutsky, by the way, previously had arranged flights to Moscow for Marine Le Pen, leader of the National Rally Party, and paid for tours to Crimea and Syria for politicians from other European countries promoting a very much pro-Kremlin agenda. Slutsky was also involved in fostering close ties with politicians who support the Yellow West opposition movement in France, and, well, anything far-right ever all over the place. And now, apparently, well, he's just been given out information to literally everyone, including private data. Which is just a bit, again, just a bit sad and just a bit scary that, we're just moving into totalitarianism more and more. But to end up on some sort of bit more positive notes. Well, for one, to make this maybe even worse, maybe slightly different, Navalny has been missing for a week. Probably because he's been transferred between prisons, though. It was just a bit iffy. Where Navalny is exactly have been unknown to his lawyers and family for about a week or so. He failed to appear in court via video link on December the 7th. Officials attributed his absence to an electrical accident at Correctional Colony number 6 outside Vladimir, where he had been held for the past several months. His lawyers were later denied a meeting with their client. On December 11th, Navalny missed another court hearing. That same day, the facility outside Vladimir revealed that Navalny is, quote-unquote, no longer listed among its inmates. The facility declined to clarify where he went. On December the 12th, Dmitry Peskov, the spokesperson for Kremlin, told reporters that the Putin administration doesn't know where Navalny is. Now, I think we can take bets here, but pretty much unless something super tragic has happened, Navalny's disappearance basically means that he's being transferred to a high security penal colony, Russia's supermax prisons, to serve his 19-year sentence handed down in August 2023 for extremism. And these transfers are dangerous, and that prison is just even more brutal, and it's probably going to be a cage within a cage. Those things for lifers or 19 years, they are very scary. However, during this transfer, I'll be following this so much because, again, you can never know. Might be Navalny just mysteriously discovers that he just likes to suddenly jump out of very tiny windows as well. Because jumping out of windows is apparently the main thing that everyone is trying to do here. At the same time, however, besides Putin declaring everything, Navalny being missing, everything, the other opposition of Russia, Khodorkovsky's and Maxim Katz and all these people, Dvolkov, Navalny's team and everyone, well, they presented their strategy to confront Putin in the March 2024 event previously known as election, which I really don't believe in, but, it is what it is. So, election is going to conclude on March 17th, and Navalny's team announced on Thursday their intentions to kind of sabotage Putin by revealing that it had placed multiple billboards across Russia with kind of seemingly innocuous holiday messages that in fact led to an anti-Putin website through a QR code in the ad. The billboards were taken down soon after officials learned about the QR codes, though, but Navalny's activists said that they've decided to advocate the same strategy that favored numerous elections, urging voters to cast ballots for anyone except the favorite, expected to be Putin, obviously. At the same time, Team Navalny here, says the election's results will be falsified and that the act of campaigning against Putin is far more vital than voting. Navalny's team, Leonid Volkov here, posted on Twitter about this, quote, "Any elections, even the fakest, are a time of doubt. People think about who is in power and why they're there." Navalny's team posted this in a tweet. They argued that Russia's opposition must answer these doubts by giving meaning to Russia's inherently meaningless voting process. The activists directly appeal to boycott advocates by reasoning that anti-Putin campaigning unites both camps, regardless of the difference in the ballot strategies. Yeah, because it's always, there are always two strategies. Those people who say that, don't play cards with cheaters. And there are those who say, no, let's try to do some smart voting and just make something happen out there. So, what do they propose? Although I personally don't even know why. I don't know why really bother, because I think that only some sort of armor vault would do things. But, well, they want to do this. But that's Navalny's team, and it's their decision. And they have suggested 3 types of campaigning. By the way, the war's still ongoing. And it's a bit of a stalemate. In winter, January, February, the hardest, coldest weather is going to happen. But, what do they propose? Quote, they want to advertise other opposition to join Team Navalny's telephone campaign. They basically want their supporters to download and print out prepared anti-Putin leaflets, stickers, and posters, and then distribute them throughout cities in Russia. And they also, say to their supporters to campaign online, not just by liking and reposting campaign materials, but also sending such content to people who have, quote unquote, yet to be converted to the opposition's cause. Apparently, Navalny's team constantly now message on YouTube and everywhere else that if you are a follower of Navalny and looking at this situation, then you must, send this message to 10 other people and make them join. It's kind of funny that we've gone to basically back to chain letters and spam mail, except it's way more sad. Maxim Katz, however, the guy that I watch a lot and who's just doing a bit weird things around about this Russian opposition thing, who's a bit arrogant, but I follow him as well. He kind of contrasts all this situation with Navalny's stuff. Maxim Katz who has a lot of bad blood with Navalny, has called on the leading political media outlets to unite behind a single campaign strategy. His media-focused strategy imagines a cascading chain of opinion influencers campaigning against Putin. The order of operations looks something like this, where, he organizes everything, and then Khodorkovsky and Team Navalny help him out. And then there's the active opposition, opinion leaders, bunch of stuff. Tons of chains, and he's not really good at organizing this. But, of course, they're not on the same page as Navalny stuff. And this is why the election is going to fail, well, so-called elections. In October 2023, for example, Maxim Katz invited Mikhail Khodorkovsky and Team Navalny leaders Maria Pevchik and Leonid Volkov to meet in London to discuss proposed campaign alliance. Khodorkovsky agreed to the talks, but Navalny's associates declined. And after Katz announced a strategy, Navalny began a large-scale survey of Russian politicians, journalists, and public figures to determine their attitudes about the upcoming race, and it was just a total crazy nonsense out there. Because, again, they're busy hating each other. Although, Maxim Katz is one of those hyper-optimistic people who even sometimes, wants things to be a bit more optimistic than they actually are. Namely, he still cannot believe that, only some sort of armed rebellion should finally solve this whole issue. But not to let you down on a sad note. By the way, middle plug as usual. If you like the show and want to help me deal with my health issues and all this stuff, please consider becoming our patron on patreon.com/theeasternborder, or just clicking the Eastern Border, the donate button in the Eastern Border.lv webpage. Yeah, I'm a bit overworked and lots of medical stuff, as you all know. And yeah, I hate doing this, but I was told to, reserve the spot in the middle and always remember you to monetize this stuff, which I hate desperately. But there we go. I have told you about Patreon. I have told you about the donations. And if you have any questions, please email me at theeasternborder@gmail.com, or, well, just join our Discord. There are links literally everywhere. But before I quit today, I wanted to give you a nice little interview with our best buddy, Igor Girkin. See, Vaza, a news agency, they sent questions to Igor Girkin, and they received answers through his lawyer about everything, really. And this is something that I would like to read in full. Quote, "What is the status of your criminal case? How does it go?" Igor Girkin responds, "Now the case has been sent to court. It's based on an examination. I deny the very fact of the existence of any crime even happening. Your lawyer, Alexander Molohov, has repeatedly filed complaints about violations in case materials." Yes, indeed, there were a lot of complaints, but what was the point? The main violation is that competent specialists in the field of psycholinguistics were not involved in the case at investigation stage. I hope that they will be brought to justice at trial. The main evidence of the investigation is a psycholinguistic examination. I completely disagree with the charges brought against me. This examination was carried out by incompetent people. This is real bullshit. What do you think the final verdict will be? I expect a conviction and imprisonment for an indefinite period. I really hope so as well, except just, in Hague, but whatever. In general, I view this event as an interesting precedent. After the accusation was made, there is no place left on earth where I would be recognized as a law-abiding citizen. In the West, I have already been recognized as a terrorist, very, very well earned, after the verdict of the Hague Tribunal, and in my homeland, apparently the dubious reputation of an extremist also awaits me. Why was the case opened only now? What was the reason? The trigger was the growing external and internal instability of Russia, the authorities' sense of the fragility of their position. My arrest happened a month after Prigozhin's rebellion. My greatest fear is that instead of the usual criminal punishment, I'll be amnestied in the same way as the cook. Yeah, that would be a shame, really. I fully believe Igor Girkin Strelkov deserves full procedure. Full 100% procedure. None of this, getting killed nonsense. No. He has to suffer through full procedure. What do you do in the pre-trial detention center? Well, there are no neighbors in the cell. Living conditions are okay-ish. Now I'm reading the history of the ancient world. In general, I mainly read historical literature here. I'm a historian by training. More recently, I reread Girkin's History of the Russian Troubles. I wonder if someone should recommend, him maybe trying to do some Dan Carlin translations. I know that there are some. His book is definitely translated in Russian, so he could do that at least. Did any incidents occur during the arrest? Nothing like that. Health problems, but everything here is according to proper procedures. I don't complain about anything. Any pressure from the investigation? There is no pressure. Are you receiving letters? There are a few letters coming, which is bad. I suspect censorship is to blame. But what's interesting is this. Messages come even from liberals, spewing curses and making fun of me. There are quite a lot of letters of support from ordinary people. Of the famous ones, I can name the writer Yeskov, who does not share my political beliefs at all. He has liberal views. He has been a supporter of Navalny for some time. So, that's a lot of weird stuff there. I'll be skipping the parts about Prigozhin because again, this is a bit unnecessary, and you all know if you've been following me what he thinks about Prigozhin, aka Prigozhin's a criminal. We all know that. Let us skip about 3 pages of pure text, and also, well, that saved some time for me translating this stuff. But about the whole Northern Military District Russian elections. Are you following the situation at the special military operation? I have a TV. In the morning, they turn on the radio and television channels. Once a week, my wife sends me news reports from the front and quotes Telegram channels that were previously interesting. I know without details what is happening on the fronts of the Northern Military District. As for my forecast, there will be no agreement and no freeze. Although some comrades dream and see that everything will miraculously resolve, that the Western partners, he puts it in air quotes, will not allow this. This war will last for a long time and, quote unquote, the enemy has set as its goal the gradual destruction of Russia. Although I personally have to comment here that I don't believe it's anyone's goal. It's just that it's the natural result of all the situation. But now the interesting part. What is your assessment of what is happening? The situation has radically deteriorated. The country has entered a period of acute instability, as demonstrated by both the Prigozhin rebellion and the manner in which its leaders were eliminated. And the authorities' strained attempts to demonstrate complete stability, cleaning up the air once again emphasizes the above. Once again, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that military successes in the idea of repelling the autumn and summer counteroffensive of the Ukrainian armed forces do not in any way eliminate or balance the fact that the war has passed the 21st month. There is no end in sight to it, especially since no implementation is visible on the horizon. And there is the pathetic lamentations of the officials about their readiness for negotiations with the, as he calls it, so-called Ukraine, are just further evidence of this. And finally, quote, you have decided to participate in the 2024 presidential elections. Why do you need this? Well, I'm of sound mind and good memory, which I would doubt, but, he considers it so. I really want to participate in the presidential elections if the opportunity presents itself. It won't, but, still. Which is extremely unlikely. Some miracle should just happen. The black swan should swim out. So I will certainly try to take part, at least, in order to be able to tell at least a little truth about the real state of affairs in the state, what awaits us in the future, how to avoid the impending disaster. In a pre-trial detention cell, there are few opportunities to develop an election campaign. I delegated authority to people with whom we hypothetically discussed this possibility before the arrest, Nilzin and Fedorov. I would take all measures to victoriously end the current war, since there will be no draw, and defeat is like death and will lead to a national catastrophe. This is where I agree to him about Russia, which in its scale will be an order of magnitude greater than the damage to the victims that we have already been suffered. We have long had no other way than to win complete victory, totally impossible, by the way, at this point, without risking collapse into turmoil. That's what's going to happen, though. If there were other options, then all of them were lost long ago by the current government irrevocably. And this is the part where I totally agree with Igor Girkin. But now I have to give you some answers here before we move on, before we analyze everything. You see, why would he do this? Why would he do this again, reaffirming that he wants to run for the presidency? Well, he has understood how to, like I said, how to stay alive, basically. I mean, Prigozhin sort of went away, and you know what happened with him. He's already in prison. He can't really be killed that openly. He wants to stay alive, and the only way how to do it is to just, well, be as loud as possible, create some troubles. Right now, it would be a bit too much, and he's a bit too famous to just be murdered, because then they would, basically he's doing everything to make sure that in case of whatever, in case he gets murdered, that he turns all these nationalists who are like actually supporting the war against Putin, and Putin doesn't want that, especially with the upcoming elections. Igor Girkin is now trying to make sure that everyone knows that he exists. And hey, if you think about it, we're kind of helping him with that. So that's something good. Because like I said, I'd rather he spent a lot, and I mean a lot of time in The Hague than be killed over there, Rather he serve for crimes that he has committed than just exist for things he hasn't. Justice is justice after all, even for a total piece of shit like Igor Girkin. But that's it for today. And after getting better a bit and finishing my article on Foreign Policy magazine, I hope to catch up in the second part of the month. Want to make more episodes and all that stuff. Lots of things to do. But for now, well, please again remember to maybe support me on Patreon. And до свидания, товарищи. As always, remember, happiness is mandatory.